Okay, so before we start discussing question 6, just a reminder about what LQR control is and pole placement is and all that stuff, right? Because I'm pretty sure by now you've forgotten last week's class, right? So we have an open loop system, right? So by the way, the equations I'm going to put here are now going to be in discrete time, right? Not continuous time, okay? So if you want to see the continuous time version of this, you can see next week's class. But this section is pretty much the same for continuous time and discrete time, except the state space equations are a bit different, right? But everything else is the same. So you had a open loop system like this, right? Giving an output, and then you have an input UK, right? So this system is the open loop system. So usually this is what you will get in your in a system, right? What you want to do is control this. You want your YK to go to, so if you give a certain input, you want your YK to go to the place you want it to go to, right? So I explained open loop versus closed loop last time. I told you about that example of having a shower, right? Opening the hot water taps and cold water taps without any feedback means you're not testing the water. You're kind of guessing how hot, how cold it's going to be, and you're going to open the tap, and then you're going to suddenly jump into the shower, and if it's too hot, you're going to burn to death, and if it's too cold, you're going to freeze to death, right? So you're not really checking the water before you jump into the shower. But a feedback system means you're looking at the states of the system itself and then adjusting your inputs according to that, right? So we have a feedback loop going like this, and what we have is some sort of gain matrix here, right? Which is compared to a reference input, which tells you where you want to go. So for example, if you want YK to be at 5, you give it a certain input, let's say 5, and you want to see if YK will follow that, right? So in last week's class, we tested that using a step input. We gave a step input. So a step input is a very good way of testing your system because it goes from 0 to a step, right? So usually the step is like 1. It goes from 0 to 1 suddenly, and you can see whether your output follows that or not, right? Whether it will reach 1 or not, right? So when you do this feedback, we saw that in the previous question, we saw that just when you give feedback like this, it might perform better, right? You can maybe take a system that was unstable and make it stable, but it might not reach this same. So this value is what we call the steady state value, right? That is, once it reaches stability, what is the value that it's reaching, right? So we saw that by adding this matrix, we could get it to perform better. That is, we could maybe stop it from becoming unstable, for example. But then we saw that the steady state value might not be where we want it to be. So what we did is we added another gain matrix here, right? Just to multiply this so that this thing goes exactly where we want it to go, right? So this idea of a step response is basically, if it works for this step, that means it should work for any sort of reference we give it, right? So for example, if we give it a reference of 5, since it worked for 1, now it will work for 5 as well, right? So this step response is just a way of checking how it performs, just for us to see, right? So that's what we did in question question 2 and 3. Basically, we did these step responses and we looked at how it's performing, and then in the end we added a gain also so that the steady state is reached, right? So there's lots of things you have to worry about. You have to worry about stability, you have to worry about how it kind of reaches the steady state and so on, right? But pole placement is basically this matrix, right? This matrix, like basically determining what values are in this matrix so that your closed loop system, so as soon as you put this feedback, it becomes a closed loop system. Your closed loop system has the poles that you want it to be, right? So by adding this, it affects your open loop system. It creates a closed loop system that you can actually control, right? So how does that happen? Basically, it happens because if you look at your input now, your input has become equal to minus k. So this feedback is actually you're taking xk plus this reference into k2. Right? So let's call this k1 actually, right? Into b, right? So what that means is, if I substitute it in this equation, xk plus 1 equals a into xk plus b into, now u has become this. So this is actually the feedback, right? Or it's also called control law, right? This is the control law. That's basically saying your uk, this is the addition, your uk is equal to this input now. So what does that mean? uk has to be substituted by this minus, sorry, this is not b, minus k1 xk plus r into k2. So what that means is, now we have xk here, so I can take that out, minus b k1 into xk plus b into r into, actually put k2 here, right? You can see here, like k2 is kind of all that k2 does is it kind of corrects that steady state issue, but where the real pole placement is happening is here, right? Because what I've created now is a new open loop system, right? True, it is a closed loop system here, but if I looked at this whole system now as a system, right? If I looked at this now as a system, whole thing as a system, I've actually created a new open loop system. I'm going to call this a minus bk1 a dash, right? So I now have k plus 1 a dash into xk, and I'm going to call this k2b basically b dash plus b dash into u, plus also your output is y c into xk. So now we have a new a, right? So what that means is this new a is determined by this k1, by this feedback that we applied, right? So now you can make sure by picking the k1 values in a smart way, you can determine whether you can make the system stable, you can make the system perform in particular ways that you want. Like for example, if your system has a lot of oscillations, by placing the poles where you want it to, you could maybe smooth it out, right? Or if your system is completely unstable, you can try and stabilize it, right? So really where the feedback happens is in this k feedback loop. Okay. Anyway, so that's theory of feedback control again and pole placement. So remember, how do you decide where this pole should be? You use something called LQR control, right? Where you try to pick the poles in a way where it balances out the effort, that is how much energy you're wasting, versus if it, basically your performance, how fast you want to achieve it, right? So you define these quality parameters called Q and R, which kind of try to balance out how much effort you want to put in and how much performance you want, right? Because usually if you put a lot of effort, you're wasting a lot of energy, but you get better performance, right? But if you want lower performance and you want to save up power and things like that, you can kind of determine that using these Q and R values. And it will determine what are the best poles that are going to balance these two values out, right? Again, if you want to understand LQR control a bit more, you can check out last week's video where I kind of did an example of bicycle riding, train riding, and helicopter, I think, or something like that, and how that really affects everything. Because remember, these poles are ultimately relevant to what's inside your system, right? That is the mass, the spring constant, all that stuff, right? So it tells you how much of energy you can expend and so on, right? So usually the control will be done by some sort of actuation. You'll have a motor, and the motor requires energy and effort and things like that, right? So again, remember, although we are discussing these in matrices and all that stuff, ultimately they get related to the physical systems that are actually working in your system, right? So yeah, so ultimately everything has to do with energy consumption and time and all that stuff, right? And Q and R are the parameters that you can use to kind of tune and get the poles that we want. Anyway, so MATLAB makes it easier to do that. Again, if you want to understand this a bit more, I think question 3 was pretty good, where we had that spaceship with a nice animation showing you what would happen if you pick the poles in different ways, right? So now let's do this LQR control for a discrete time system. It's pretty much the same, right? You use the same equations, right? First you determine A, B, and C matrices, right? So Q6, you just write down what your A matrix, your B matrix, and C matrix is. You also mention, again, what we're going to do is we're going to look at 20 steps, right? So if I want to plot out all the intermediate steps, I'll have to create a matrix of 3 into 20 so that I can store my states, and then I can store my outputs. And it tells here that your Q and R values should be, yeah, Q is an identity matrix of size 3 and R is a scale of 1, so I can define that as well. And then I can create a state space model with all these parameters, right? So this final parameter here is your D parameter. Again, if it's empty, you can just put a 0 or an empty vector like this, right? And if you want, since it's a discrete time system, you can define time units as well. So if you want these to be months, you can say months, like we did in the previous question. We can give it some sort of time unit. Here in this question, it's pretty abstract, so we're going to just leave it like that. And then just to create that LQR controller, all you have to say is use this function LQR, right? You give the system matrix that you just defined. You give the Q and R values. Again, these Q and R values will determine how much of effort and performance you want. So right now I've just given 1 for each of them, so it's like equally kind of balanced out. But if you want to penalize one, you can just increase one of these and see how it affects the system. When you use this LQR function, it automatically gives you this K matrix, right? It automatically tells you what this K matrix should be if you want this kind of performance defined by Q and R, right? So unlike in our first question that we did, where we did pole placement by hand, right? We looked at the poles that we want to achieve, and then we calculated what K1 and K2 is, basically your K matrix is. Here in MATLAB, it automatically gives you that K value, right? So if that is your K value, what is your closed loop system? Your closed loop system is going to be A into minus BK into XK, right? And here in this system, there is no where is input? Okay, so here in this system, we're going to assume that you're giving a reference of 0, right? So then your system is just going to be basically this closed loop system that I was talking about, right? if I look at this closed loop system, the equation is, hold on a sec, I'm getting messages. Yeah, so what is our closed loop system equation? Xk plus 1 a minus b into k xk plus input value, right? So for example, let's say our input is 0. We are just going to look at how the system is going to perform, right? So if you want, you can give an input, right? So then you can say plus u or whatever here, but what I've done here is just the new system. This is a closed loop system. So this was the open loop system, this is a closed loop system, and then I'm going to plot out the outputs and see how it functions, right? If you want, you can first plot the open loop system as well and see how it performs, and then you can look at how it performs when you plot the closed loop system, right? So what I'm plotting now is going to be the closed loop system. If you want, you could plot the open loop system as well, which should not be a minus bk, it will just be a into xk, right? So if I run this, you can see that the system, these are all the states in the system. Your output is the purple one, right? Actually, what we'll do is we'll plot the open loop system as well, just to show the comparison, right? So if I was to plot the open loop system, it will just be without the controller, right? That is without this part. It will just be AXK. If you want, you can give an input as well, right? So let's say 5. Or actually, we'll not give an input. Then I'll just show you what happens if you don't give an input. Okay, so you can see here that if I just plot the open loop system, it's completely unstable, right? It's going haywire, right? We can actually check the stability of the system, and so if I type is stable, and give the system, you can see that the answer is 0, which means the system is not stable. And you can see here, not this graph, the other graph. Where is our graph? Let me draw this again. You can see here that the system is unstable. But when you add the control, right, when you create a closed loop system and you added this feedback, right, and you added these Q and R values, you can see now the system is stable and it's reaching 0, right? If I gave it an input, let's say 5 or whatever, now it will stop at, yeah, see, you can see here it's stable now, but it's not reaching the steady state that we want it to, right? Which is why we'll have to do that gain matrix as well, the second one. What was this? This K2 value. So for example, you can see here that if I give an input of 5, my output is around 10, right? So what should be my gain matrix? My gain matrix should divide. So if I want an output of 5, I'll have to divide the whole system by 5. So now I'm getting an output of 2. Okay, sorry. So this is not exactly a step input. We are just providing a, yeah. So for you to actually find that second one, you'll have to, remember we used the step function like before. You can use the step function, look at how it performs, and then kind of deal with its steady state error by basically adjusting this second gain. But what is important is this first gain, right? We've taken a unstable system, right? And we've created a sense of stability, right? And that's really what we want to cover in this question. Okay, so you can watch last week's video also to understand LQR controller a little bit more. But that's really it for lab 4. So we finally finished lab 4. All the answers to these questions will be put up. And now we can kind of discuss lab 5. But before discussing lab 5, let's discuss your projects a little bit, right? So we'll spend a few minutes on your projects. Let me